Good morning, and thank you for joining me on this very damp, dull, wintry day. And I am somewhere near some woodland. Far away from anyone, no people. Listen to the silence. Listen. Silence. No traffic noise. No people noise. Just nature noise. My favourite kind of noise. And I've come out today to photograph some trees. And I'm looking specifically for magnificent looking, twisty, gnarly trees, which I may have found already. Barely walked away from the car, and this is how good this place is. And there's this stunning oak tree. I'm almost certain it's an oak tree that I think I'm going to photograph, because it looks amazing. It looks like a tree from an enchanted fairy tale story. That's how amazing it is. I'll show you. Just look at this beautiful tree. Isn't it amazing? Let me just tilt you up so that you can see up into its branches. Amazing, don't you think? This whole area is amazing. Look at it. Full of ancient trees. I love it. You've probably noticed that I've got my 5D Mark III with me today. I usually bring my 5D Mark II out, but the point of today's video is to explain to you why you don't need a new camera. And I've brought this camera out specifically to make the point. So if you're anything like most photographers, you've probably noticed all the new equipment that's constantly coming out. And it seems almost as if every month there's a new camera system that comes out, an all singing, all dancing, amazing new camera system that the advertising of which kind of tries to persuade you that you couldn't possibly be without it. What I always ask myself is, would any of these new camera systems change the way in which I take photographs? And in terms of landscape photography, the answer usually is no, it wouldn't. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So, this is a 5D Mark III. Compared to the Mark II, it has a lot of features that the Mark II just simply didn't have. The autofocus system is completely different and much improved. It's got a little bit more dynamic range. It's got 1 more megapixel, which is nothing, is it? But fundamentally, I take photographs in the exact same way with this camera as I would with the Mark II. So I have everything set to manual. I have my 2-second timer on that you can see there. You can see the M there, that means everything is manual. My ISO is set to 50, as it always is. My aperture is set to where it normally is. I normally have it on auto white balance. It's on manual focus, as you can see there, look. And all the images are raw files, as you can see there. So fundamentally, this really doesn't change the way in which I take photographs at all, even though it's a different camera. So what I would normally do is, once I've got the camera on the tripod and I've got it switched on, I would put on the live view, frame up my shot, and then zoom in to the subject, overexpose it a little bit so that I can focus, manually focus using the focus ring on the lens, and then I will take the exposure down so that it's underexposed by about a stop. 2-second timer that you can hear beeping away, and there's the image. So this is why fundamentally you don't need a new camera. If the one you've got has got a functional live view and the usual settings that you find on most DSLRs these days, or indeed mirrorless cameras, then that's all you need. Yeah, if you want to use autofocus, you just switch the autofocus on the lens, hold your shutter button down halfway. This by the way is for Canon cameras. I think it works the same on most other camera systems, but for Canon this is how it works. So you hold down your shutter button halfway. When you get that green square and a beep, that means it's focused, and there you go. And then you just show your image, and then you can zoom in, check your focus. That's all in focus. Let's just see how that compares to the previous image, which was manually focused. And they're pretty much the same. The sharpness, as far as I can tell on here, it isn't much different. So I could, if I wanted to, just be lazy and use the autofocus like that and take my images that way. So that's why you don't need to go out and spend thousands of pounds on a new camera if you've already got a half decent DSLR anyway. Far better to spend your money on decent lenses, and I'm sure you've heard that and seen people say that a million times, but it's a cliche, but it's true. The best investment you can make if you've already got a decent camera, if you want to improve your images and your image quality, buy some decent lenses. Right, it's now started to rain a lot heavier, so now that I've bagged this image of this glorious oak tree, I'm going to have a wander a little further around the wood and see if there's anything else worth photographing. Well, I didn't have to move very far to find my next image, only about 30 or 40 meters from where I was before. Amazing this place is. My hands are freezing now, so I'm rubbing them with this cloth to try and warm them up. I'm not sure how well it's working. So this image that I found here, this beautiful tree, just wanted to say before I go any further, it's really good to see that some other photographers far more well known than I am are embracing the chaos of woodland and the underexposing technique as well. That's really nice to see that people are cottoning onto that and using it as a technique in woodland photography. So let's talk about this image, shall we? So I'm going to get the Osmo out so that I can show you the back of the camera and everything. my thumb's that cold I can barely hold this switch down. Ah, there we go. So there's my image. It's that tree over there, and as you can see it's like a V, and there's some beautiful sort of I guess you call them vines climbing up the tree. It's covered in moss. It's got nice it's got ivy growing on it, and there's some really nice moss coloured rocks in the foreground to kind of set the image off. So I'll just talk you through my settings. Let's just switch that off. Still got the autofocus on. So there we go. F11, ISO 50, quarter of a second, underexposed by almost 2 stops. Let's just check focus. And there we go. That, I think, looks great. I really like that. Right, I've come up to the top end of the wood now, and it's super still and quiet. Love it. Now right in front of me there's a pool of water, and right in front of that pool of water is a magnificent tree, but unfortunately I don't know why, but it's not reflecting in it. A different tree is reflecting in it. And I was hoping I could go for a nice reflection shot, but that's not going to work because it's not reflecting in it. So I'm going to go wander up there and see, treading carefully because it's proper slippy. There's lots of wet moss and mossy rocks underneath me, so it's quite tricky to navigate your way through. It's not steep or anything, it's just really wet and boggy everywhere. There's so many beautiful moss coloured oak trees and beech trees in this wood. It's hard to know which way to turn and what to point your camera at. There's such a lot, but it's got to be something good in it, else it's not worth it. So this next image that I'm going to take, I'm going to try and do it so that it looks like a pano, but it's not going to be, if you know what I mean. I'm going to crop it like a letterbox sort of crop, like a 16:9 crop, to see if I can get it to look like a pano. Because in my frame, in the top, I've got quite a bit of sky, which is too bright. So yeah, and I've got a lot of rocks in the foreground, but I want to get all the trees, you see. So I'm going to crop the bottom in, crop the top in, and hopefully I'll get the image that I've got in my mind. Now what I can do with this camera, if I go into the menu, go to my aspect ratio, I can actually set it to 16:9, and that will give me an idea of what it'll look like. But what I'll probably do is crop the bottom up even more and the top down even more, so it's a real sort of. But I'm going to take that shot. Let me just check focus first before I do. I'm focusing on the tree dead in the middle of the frame. Let's just make sure that that is in focus. There we go, I think that's about there. Now things are looking a little bit soft because I've got a little hint of, got a slight hint of mist in the atmosphere, not very much, but it's there nonetheless. So take that image. And there we go, you can see the crop lines there. But I will bring that down, cut the sky out and bring that up to the base of this tree here, in the final image, I think. I'm just going to take the same shot again, only this time I'm going to underexpose it a bit more. Yeah, that's better. I don't know if this one will work. I won't know that till I get it on the computer, but if you see it now, then it obviously looks okay. Okay YouTube, I'm done now. I'm going to head back to the car and head home. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video and the images, and I will see you in the next one. Just one last thing, if the audio on this bit is a bit rubbish, that's because I've packed all my gear away and I'm using the audio on the Osmo, so it might not be very good. But anyway, thanks for joining me. Catch you in the next video.